It was a no contest.
No go.
Yeah.
No contest with your Padre, huh?
Yeah.
He said, it's Father's Day. Leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah.
Good
Basically.
stuff.
No, yeah, I mean, it was a busy weekend last weekend, so.
What if I told you that I have not looked at the agenda all week long?
I would believe you.
So I'm sure you noticed that you're the only one that put shit on there.
Yeah, I notice these things, definitely.
So let's pull this thing up. Let's see how fat it is.
It's not that bad.
Oh, copy that.
All considering.
Did you end up seeing Toy Story yet?
No, we might do that tonight. We're not so sure.
Yeah,
yet.
man. Worth the watch.
Yeah.
Worth the watch.
I'm sure. But yeah, maybe later tonight or something we'll do it. Get it done.
Very cool.
Get her done. You know?
You gonna take the girl?
No, probably not. She's like
Thank you.
She's
Thank you for being a sensible parent.
Yeah, she's a little like I said,
rowdy,
a little sick. I mean, she'll probably sit and watch, but I don't want to take the chance. You know.
I gotcha.
Yeah. Anyway. Oh man. Yeah, I haven't even been outside today. It's just me in here. It's been a busy couple of weeks, man. Family parties every fucking week.
Gotta love those, huh?
Yeah, I got one more next week with Adam's child.
Birthday or something?
Yeah, first birthday. So we got that going. And then...
So what you're telling me is that Adam's going to save up all his kid's birthday cash for me to build him a PC?
I hope not. That would be silly. But, yeah, so we got that going. Yeah, it's like I said, like 4 weeks in a row of a family get-together thing, which normally isn't that big of a deal, but when they line up like that, it's just like, fuck, I just want to sit at home and stare at the wall.
When the stars align.
What the fuck, man? I'm all a mess now.
You good?
No,
I'm gone for 1 week and this place goes to crap.
Yeah, I'm a little discombobulated at the moment. Anyway. You ready?
Oh, yeah.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Second City Kids Podcast, episode number 122.
122.
Yeah, we are back after a week off. Gabe was out of town, and I was enjoying my Father's Day. So yeah, that's basically the gist of that.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how was Father's Day for you, big guy?
It was okay.
It was okay?
Yeah, it was okay.
Did they get you anything?
No.
They didn't even try?
No, I'm cool with that, though. I just kind of wanted to sit at home and do nothing, which is like my thing right now.
I feel you.
Yeah, because as I mentioned, a lot of family parties that have happened in the last couple of weeks. I just
worn you out.
Yeah, I just don't want to do anything really, to be honest. But yeah, that's what's going on. It's a hot day based on the 30 seconds that I opened up the door for Gabe and Manny to walk into, from what I can tell.
Yeah, it's not bad out.
It's hot, yeah. On the south side of Chicago, Illinois. Gabe, how was your week off and all that stuff? Because I know you had a little bit of an adventure.
Good. I enjoyed my vacation, man. We went out to Amish country in PA. What did we do? I'm like going through it in my head. We did your basic shit. I think what do we calculate? I think I ate 15 scoops of ice cream that week.
Ooh.
That was pretty brutal. We went every day. And yeah, man, that ice cream out there, that shit's something special. Like, you think Chicago ice cream's good? Like, you have your favorite, like, dairy place, creamery, ice creamery, whatever.
Yeah.
But dude, out there, man, where it's made fresh daily from the Amish community. Ooh, yeah, that shit's good.
I saw you had a Snapchat of an Amish person going through a drive-thru, which I thought was a hoot.
With their horse and buggy, yeah. No, that was 100% like dead serious. That wasn't like a fucking joke or anything.
Yeah, I thought it was a hoot.
Adrian
had to go laugh.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, man. I mean, hey, man, you gotta be part of society somehow, right?
Yeah, I mean, we did some shopping. We hung out with Maddie's family, all that good stuff. We ate 14 tacos the one day.
Mm-hmm.
We had swordfish tacos. I had a crispy rock shrimp taco. Some roasted duck, that was good. Some carne asada, all sorts of shit, man. That menu was pretty good.
Where are you getting it from?
There's a place called Bar Taco, and we went to the one in the King of Prussia Mall. So, yeah, man, we just fucking ordered hella tacos and just maxed out. That was nice. There was a strip of stores in there where it was like a Louis Vuitton, a Gucci, like all these like really like high end stores, you know, back to back, maybe like 10 of them. And at the very end of it, there was a Shake Shack. I thought it was fucking hilarious. True.
So yeah, so when did you come back?
Yesterday.
Oh shit, you were out for a minute then. You were gone.
Yeah, we came back. We were gone for like a full week.
Wow.
And some change actually.
Nice. So yeah, man, welcome back. I'm sure you're happy to be back.
Relatively.
Yeah. So as Gabe mentioned, that the majority of this agenda is actually mine because
All of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, all of it. Look at that.
All of it.
Yeah. So,
hey man, when I'm on vacation, I'm on vacation.
This is true.
Totally.
This is true. All right, so we're gonna open up with, I don't know if you saw it yet, but they have a new Once Upon a Time in Hollywood poster.
Yeah, it's so Quentin's doing this thing, and I can't recall if he did it for the other movies. He's keeping everything super limited.
Yeah.
And he's kind of keeping information contained and this and that. Because that first teaser thing we got was
Yeah.
Then we got the like real trailer, that Red Band one that we talked about 2 or 3 weeks ago. That one was, a little bit more revealing.
Yep.
And this poster's kind of conservative for a Tarantino movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it falls kind of in line with the movie posters of the time. Because, that's just kind of the style that he went along with it, which, makes sense. Hey, if it's based in this time, want full immersion, here you go. Here's a poster that looks like it's something from the time period, right? And, I just something I wanted to talk about. I thought it was pretty cool looking. I'd hang it up on a wall. It looks good.
He's really selling the product. And I'm sure if I enjoy the movie and it does well, which I'm sure it will, it'll be hung up in its little Tarantino corner.
Is there a Tarantino movie that you don't like?
I don't particularly love Jackie Brown. I think that one's the weakest of them.
But not particularly loving and not liking are two different things.
Here's my thing. I'd be A-okay if I never rewatched that movie.
But did you hate it?
No. I didn't hate it. There's very few movies I genuinely hate.
Like what?
I'd have to think about that for a bit because there's like a handful of them, Because I think it's one thing for a movie to get by. And then I think it's a whole different accomplishment if you get me to hate something. You know what I'm saying?
Really? You think it deserves its own banner at that point that it hangs in the ceiling, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't say a banner in the ceiling, maybe like a movie poster in the fireplace kind of deal. But you feel me? Like there's definitely movies that I'd never have to see again and I'd be A-okay because they were, mediocre or bad or whatever the reason is. But if I genuinely fucking hate a movie, like you already know I'm going to come in here like guns a-blazing with like 10 different reasons why I hate it.
True. All right, cool. Yeah. So, like I said, it was a kind of a good looking trailer, and I was interested in what you had an opinion on it. So, Miramax is for sale. Apparently, they're looking for a buyer. This directly affects Halloween. This directly affects Scream. So,
what's their asking price? Did they throw something out there?
I don't think it had it out and about like that. But all I know is that they are looking for a buyer.
Are they bankrupt or what's up with them?
I think they're keeping it kind of low profile on that. I don't know exactly what the circumstances are. All I know is that they are shopping around for a buyer, and then there's like a large library of films, obviously, that are behind it, like Good Will Hunting and all the Kevin Smith movies and all that are all Miramax. So
cool. I guess Michael will be a Disney property soon enough, and then we're gonna get PG-13 Michael Myers movies.
I mean, don't say it too loud, Gabe. They might actually hear you.
Hey man, you never know. You never know with what's going on right now.
Apparently, speaking of Kevin Smith, and this is not in the docket, but it's related. Apparently, Kevin Smith has got himself his own show lined up. He's gonna have a new show come out with doing something like an actual TV show.
If it's anything remotely close to Comic Book Man, I'm sure we'll love it.
I think no. He says it's actually based on. It's actually like a property, like an IP. He's like, his words. We couldn't give too much details because I listen to his podcast almost every week, and he said a well-loved IP that they're letting us kind of have fun with.
Ooh,
yeah.
I wonder what it could be.
Yeah, so
I wonder if it's one of the things he's worked on before, if it's something brand new.
I'm thinking it's something new, because it's like he said that like they signed the check and kind of like, okay, well,
maybe it's something that's been around and they're like, hey, we need some new life in this IP.
Maybe like Green Hornet or something like that. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Kevin Smith as Green Hornet, huh?
Not as Green Hornet, but
as his sidekick.
No, I'm saying like
nobody can replace Bruce Lee, man.
Having him be behind it, kind of as a directing role and all of that. So
yeah, I think there's a couple of things.
Yeah,
and that's a Miramax property that he's, or do we not know the property?
No, we don't know it. He said it was well loved. That's all he said. So whoever is behind it, we don't know.
Let me get Kevin Smith behind like the animated Spider-Mans. That'd be awesome.
That would be cool.
That'd be really good.
Yeah.
Or the animated Batmans. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
How do we make a DC animated movie even better? You have one of the most competent writers.
Yeah.
Right behind it.
Well, that and Mark Bernardin, who's his co-host on his podcast, who's done like Castle Rock and stuff like that. And he's a guy who's constantly like making movies better, because I think you and I talk about how we sometimes make movies better by pitch a better movie. He does that constantly, on his show. So I'm kind of interested in what he's got to say, because if he's writing too, I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Let me get a Schoolhouse Rock revival with Kevin Smith behind it.
Hey, that'd be
interesting, huh?
D is for dope.
Or what was that movie that Jack Black was in where he teaches the kids music?
School of Rock.
School of Rock. Yeah, let me get a School of Rock revival where it's Jack Black's last day before retirement, and he says, "I'm too old for this shit," and there's a class of underprivileged kids that need to learn how to appreciate music.
Wasn't that another movie? I don't know.
I don't fucking know.
Let's not get into that.
Sounds like a Robin Williams movie.
It does. It really does.
Anyway, so let's talk Dr. Sleep.
So, I think you said it too. I wasn't aware that The Shining had a sequel in publication.
Okay, I knew that there was this big Stephen King universe because I know the It movie relates to something else that he wrote, and I know Cujo and like some of these books are set in the same universe, right?
That show Castle Rock is based in the Stephen King universe, though.
I think you mentioned Castle Rock, right? But I didn't know that there was like a direct fucking sequel to this. Because I was watching the trailer, I was like, oh, this looks really good. This looks interesting. This looks new. And then it's like, well, I've been there before where all this magic kind of happens in one place, and we called it The Shining. And I was like, no. And then you see the scene with the axe and Jack Nicholson breaking through, and I'm like, holy shit, this is a direct sequel. Yeah. And when did The Shining come out? 1989? 1990?
No. Let me look real quick. But I think it's maybe mid-70s. I could be wrong, though. Let me look it up real quick.
Mid-70s. Yeah, it might actually be older than I'm giving it credit for, because that was Stanley Kubrick, right?
Correct, yes.
So I think my big thing is that, Kubrick was known for his perfectionism and kind of how he directed movies. And granted, there's some issues around some of the actors and how he treated them and whatever, right?
Yeah.
But that movie is without a doubt a classic.
Absolutely.
And it will always be. And I'm kind of curious to see how the sequel goes, because I know you and I approach these things very carefully and with a lot of caution. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, man. The trailer looks good. It's supposed to. I'm kind of torn up on this. I want it to be good, and I want there to be like a modern day Shining. Yeah. Because the closest thing we've got was like The Conjuring and like Insidious, But those were kind of in different veins as a horror movie as a whole. But I'm interested, man. It's grabbed my attention.
Yeah, it's the 80s, by the way, 1980. Exactly.
1980, okay, so I wasn't too far off. Yep. So this is almost 40 years later.
Yeah, and Ewan McGregor is playing Danny.
Fucking love Ewan.
Yeah, he's. I think he's going to bring some good shit to the role. And I guess, it's okay because, like I said, you and I usually approach these things with like caution, but it's a Stephen King book. The Dr. Sleep is an actual book that he came out with. That's so it's his thing. It's based on his thing, and he knows what he's doing, right? So, assuming that it doesn't totally suck, I'm sure it's going to be good.
I'm just, I think the big thing that like your film critics are going to look at is they're going to look at The Shining's directing style and all its little intricacies, and then look at Dr. Sleep in the same like magnifying glass.
Yeah, I agree.
Because if you're going to do a sequel like that, you got to have it up to par. It's got to be at minimal the same like quality of story, directing, and all that shit,
Yeah, definitely. And it's kind of a hard thing to hit, because we have our own opinions on The Shining. But I think, like you said, overall, I think everybody can kind of view it as a kind of a masterpiece, absolute classic in every sense of the word. And it has a lot to do with the directing style of Kubrick, because Kubrick's an interesting guy, obviously. And like you said, the whole relationship he had with his cast is not here nor there. But I guess we'll have to see. From the shots, from what I saw in the trailer, it seems like it's a well-shot film at the very least. It looks good, and like I said, I think Ewan could bring some. What's the one I'm looking for? Some
love, some finesse.
Yeah, some finesse to this role.
Some of that good old General Kenobi spice to.
Absolutely.
I think he's a phenomenal actor, and I think he'll knock it out of the ballpark.
I'm actually really looking forward to it, to be honest.
So I think at a bare minimum, it has the world interested.
Yeah, absolutely, and. It's one of those rare cases where everybody's like, oh, come on, leave it alone. It's not one of those things. So that's good. I'm glad for it, and hopefully it's good. I'm going to check it out.
We will pay attention to your career with great interest.
Absolutely.
I'm just making prequel references left and right.
Yes, you are. You're on top of it today. But, so yeah, move along. So this is something I wanted to get into. So last weekend, me and Adriana went headfirst into the Purge franchise, right?
Did you watch all of them?
Yeah, all of them. So I kind of want to give the Purge movie its props. I think we've talked about it in the past, but I cannot recall another franchise that movie after each new movie that comes out, they address issues from the previous film. So the first Purge, the first movie called The Purge was, I think we all can kind of agree, it was an interesting little concept for a movie. It's original. It was cool. But
the execution was
a little shoddy. It wasn't a horrible movie by any means of the word, but I think the problem with it is that everybody's like, well, it all takes place in a house. And whether crime is legal or not is irrelevant because it's a home invasion movie, right? So whatever's happening inside the house is circumstantial at that point, right?
Absolutely.
So there was that, and everybody's like, well, I want to see what's happening out in the streets because I'm sure people are going nuts, right? Like that was like the main problem with the first Purge, or the first movie called The Purge. There you go.
And then the second one comes out in the streets of, was it L.A.?
L.A., yeah.
Or was it Chicago? I think part of it was filmed in Chicago.
Yeah, I think so. But as far as like the location, it was taking place in L.A. And like you said, the whole premise of the film was all, let's go out in the streets and fucking see what's going on. But at that point, it kind of took this thing and evolved the formula. It didn't just make it kind of a straightforward kind of a horror movie. They're like, well,
there's a big old conspiracy behind it.
There was the kind of the political undertones behind it, which they really went head forward in the next one, but that's kind of my next point. But they kind of took the action aspect of it all and said, fuck it, we're going to make this kind of an action horror genre. It had some, interesting characters. They, obviously they have, the background to kind of fill in the body count to make, as, people get picked off one by one. Also, it's just kind of a neat little setup, the circumstances of being lost or caught while the Purge started. And this couple was out there, right? And how they're going to make it, how they're going to survive, et cetera, et cetera. And kind of harping on some of the other things, like in family problems, like families who have issues, allowing to address those issues in a very violent way during the Purge. So a lot of interesting things they brought to the table with the second one, on top of the fact that they introduced this character who's like an action badass. Yeah. I called him Solid Snake in the movie because it's basically what he is throughout the whole entire film. And yeah, it was cool and had a nice little, like you said, the political undertones on top of the fact they mentioned, kind of like the tale of revenge. Is it really worth it in the end? Is it going to make you feel better? And it didn't, right? So there was that. Now, I think the next movie, the election year, was kind of it dipped a little bit. Not like it didn't completely fall off a cliff. I don't know why everybody hated it. It looked like the reviews, people weren't very fond of it. Visually, it's a stunning film, though. They have some really good looking shots in the fucking movie. Like, they have these girls who are nuts and they bedazzled like a gun. It was kind of dope looking, and like took a whole fucking car and wrapped it in Christmas lights. There was some good stuff in there. And that, like, it went full bore with the political aspects of it all. Like the new founding fathers, how they're fuckboys and doing some horrible fucking shit and killing people in the middle of a church and all this fucked up shit. And took that and really ran with it, relying on the same character and all that good stuff. But they kind of addressed an issue that I had in all the other previous Purge movies. Well, they're like, I'm like, well, what happens to all these bodies? Like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they said, hey, there is a Purge cleanup going as the Purge is taking place, and they're kind of like free from harassment. Almost.
There we go.
Yeah. So
don't shoot us. We're just cleaning up the bodies.
Yeah. Also, and in the trailer of the film, because they were like going after a political figure, I'm like, well, didn't they say that political figures above a certain level weren't allowed to be like targeted? Well, they're like, well, this year we're gonna fucking whoever the president, if you want him, if you can get to him, he's yours. So they kind of addressed that as well. So yeah, that's the election year. And then the last one, which is the first Purge, which is why it's confusing to me, was fucking awesome. It was straight up like almost like a straight up action film. Still had some of the horror elements to it, but it took the first Purge. They kind of quarantined it and kept it in one little area, all the political undertones as well, and took this character who was a drug dealer, like mob boss in his neighborhood, and it's like, fuck it, like these people are coming in and killing our people. Fuck that, we're gonna defend the neighborhood, and that's essentially what they did. It was fucking dope.
Gotcha. And thus the Crips were born.
Yeah.
No kidding, of course. But I'm glad you found some new life for these movies, because I feel like they've definitely gone off the wayside, at least attention-wise.
Absolutely.
Because I remember that first one was coming out, and everybody was talking about The Purge. Even the second one, because I saw the second one in theaters, and I quite enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. But there was just this massive like hype train around it, where it's like, oh my god, these movies are going to be the next big thing, blah blah blah. And they kind of were for the 2 or 3 years that they were in the limelight.
Yeah.
But now we've got obviously with the resurrection of Halloween, I guess, right, and like all these IPs coming back from the 80s and stuff. It's kind of getting much harder for a newer idea to break through. But it is refreshing at the end of the day, whether it was executed, shoddily like the first one, or whether they got better with time, like 2 and so forth. Yeah. I think it's good, man. I think that with some time and love and some good writing, I think The Purge can make its way into like maybe like a solid B or C tier, like action horror kind of movie.
I think definitely that's it. I know they have a TV show. I know that. I don't know how violent they can get with it, but I think it's interesting enough. And like I said, I give them credit because it would be very easy for them to kind of ignore the rules from the previous film and just make it up as they go. They didn't seem to do that. They seem to actually kind of
take care.
Yeah, put some thought into what they wrote down, and they're like, okay, how does this make sense? And it's got to make sense.
And it doesn't feel like a total cop out, like they're rewriting it. It was just like, hey, well, here's why.
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. So I give them credit for it, and I enjoyed these films overall. And yeah, it's a nice little franchise. We'll see what happens in the future, but I know that I enjoyed it. And speaking of franchises, that
yeah, I saw this on here.
So first off, I want to talk about it because after The Purge, me and Adrian were like, well, let's watch the Predator movies that are available, right? So we watched the newest Predator, by the way.
Yeah. You told me you enjoyed it, right?
Yeah, that movie's fucking dope. It's
horrible.
Really good. It's horrible.
But
it's awesome because it's fucking Predator, and it's what you want to see. You want to see Predator mow down some motherfuckers.
Is it just over-the-top action, big ol' explosions?
Yeah.
Kind of bringing the 80s stereotypes, but with modern
absolutely
aesthetics.
So it took that, and there's a line. I told you there was a line that almost made me shut off the movie.
Yeah, what's the line?
Where it was Olivia Munn's character, because I guess they capture a Predator. They capture him. They have him on the table. The scene that you've seen from the trailer. Yeah. And she's like, oh, man, you are one beautiful motherfucker. I'm like, oh, come on. I almost shut off the fucking movie. I couldn't take it. It's
too much cheese for you.
Too much for me. Anyway, watched it. It was awesome. But it allowed us to get into the Alien versus Predator movies because Adrian doesn't really know anything about the Predator. I've noticed because she was asking a lot of questions. I'm like, but don't you? You should probably know that. So over the last couple of weeks, last 2 weeks or so, I've gotten her like full bore onto the Predator train. She like loves this shit. So we watched Alien vs. Predator today on top of the Predators, the 2010 movie, which was really fucking good, by the way. So we watched Alien vs. Predator. I mean, it's wonderfully cheesy. It's in the same era of like the Freddy vs. Jason. So it's kind of funny how we harped on that a little bit and got into this. I
actually think that it's a wonderful movie. Yeah, there's some cheese to it, but everything is concise. Everything, well, most things, I should say, make sense within the aspects of each other's universe.
Are we talking about Alien vs. Predator or Freddy vs. Jason?
Alien vs. Predator.
Oh, because basically, they're kind of the same.
They're on par. Well, I think it was funny because you said, well, we watched the Predator movies and then got into AVP. Well, me and Maddie did it the other way. We watched the Alien movies and then got into AVP.
Yeah. I told her that. I'm like, Gabe's more from the Alien side and I'm more from the Predator side. And like, that's just, how it worked out.
The nature of things, yeah.
Just how it worked out. And so, yeah, she really likes them. She's like, well, I want to see the original now. I'm like, you're not ready for that. I'm like, your face will melt with how manly that fucking film is. Like, you couldn't take it. But anyway, but yeah, so it's a fun little movie, man. Like you said, it lines up with each other pretty well. I like how the comic book continuity kind of is like, well, this is why this makes sense, and these things belong together.
Well, okay, even that, you have a reason for both creatures being on Earth, right? The Predators put this breeding pyramid inside of, like Antarctica or whatever, right? Yeah. Like way deep down under the soil, and that's like their rite of passage where they bag and tag an alien, right?
Yeah.
And so they come to Earth once every how many fucking years.
Yeah.
Once every 100 years when it's time for the Predator to mature, they release one of these aliens from the pyramid and they hunt it down.
Yeah.
And that's so, like, think about it. That works so beautifully with the nature of Predator and their whole hierarchy and how their, like, civilization works, right? Yeah. But then you have the alien side of things, where an alien will adapt to anything you fucking give it.
Yeah.
You throw it on Earth, it'll survive just fucking fine. Deep Space Nine, you got it, bro. We're out here. Yeah. And so it evolves into this like ragtag game of like cat and mouse, really, at the end of the day, where the humans are caught in the fucking middle, which is this like beautiful breath of fresh air, because I feel like in both series it's been like man versus the unknown, where Predator comes down to Earth and you have, all these big old 80s machos guys like, oh, what the fuck, get to the chopper type of shit, and then same with the alien kind of aspect of things, right? But then here you have us as like the innocent bystander at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because all the humans did in this was just discover the pyramid. And I think they tripped it a little bit earlier before the Predator arrival, right? I think that was
just as they were arriving.
Just as they arrived, right? And so at the end of the day, it's like we're just caught in the fucking middle, and we're seeing like it's Godzilla versus Mothra right now, but on a way toned down scale.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and yeah, man, it was awesome because I think because even the Predators kind of recognize the fact that like, okay, like these alien things they can't spread because it'll be too much.
They know, yeah,
they'll be too much. But like you said, so they kind of created this pyramid, which is like a prison, like a breeding prison for these aliens, just so they could fucking kill, so they can sharpen up their skills and earn it. Because like you said, it's like a rite of passage for them, right? Only the bad motherfuckers survive, right? That's basically the gist of it. They had this fucking alien in captivity, or the queen in captivity, just breeding so they can hunt them. And And eventually, they took kind of the female lead. Was a little cheeseball, I guess, but they're like, oh, now you're equal with us. So he like makes her up like a fucking makeshift weapon, and it's like, okay, you ride with me because we need to live, basically. And that's what I like the Predator the most, is because he has an honor system.
Yeah.
And he's like, if you're worthy, I'm not going to murder you. Or if you mentioned it with Michael Myers one time in the movie, the most recent movie, you're like, it's not suitable prey. And if you're not suitable prey to the Predator, he's not going to hunt you down. He's not going to kill you.
Well, even then, it was more of like I'd say like a temporary truce, because,
yeah,
you kill the humans, and it's like, that doesn't do anything for your standing in society at the end of the day, because you're here to catch an alien, not a human.
Yeah.
So it's realizing that you need to work together
to get the job done.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a fun little film, man. I think these movies kind of get shit on because from the outside, it's a little ridiculous, right? I think
you could say that for any monster mashup, honestly.
Absolutely. But if you're a fan, you're gonna love it, and
it's executed well, like this, like Freddy versus Jason. Both movies have their flaws, and both movies have their ups at the end of the day. But like to the fan bases, I think these movies are awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And
just don't watch AVP 2. That one's a total shit show.
I'm staying away from that.
I had to turn that off halfway. I was like, I'm not fucking watching this.
Okay, fair enough. This is because it started to kind of shit on itself at that point.
Yeah.
Had a problem with that.
There was trace amounts of respect.
Oh, okay.
And it felt really forced, in my opinion. I like the kind of cliffhanger where they bring home the Predator's body, and then you see like the little xenomorph in him.
Mm-hmm.
I like that, and I think that would have been an okay ending. But the fact that they had to bring it back down to Earth in this like suburban thing, and now you have like this like crocodile alien in the sewers, and it's just fucking ridiculous, man.
Yeah, man. So yeah, it's a film I enjoyed. Speaking of crocodile in the sewer, have you seen the trailer for this movie called Swarm?
I have not. No.
So basically, it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's piranha.
Mm-hmm.
It's anaconda with a crocodile.
Cool. I remember when Piranha came out, dude. I was like terrified to swim for like a week or so.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say about it.
Yeah.
We've gotten so many of these like deep sea creature movies and stuff. And what was the last one? The Meg.
Yeah.
That was more of an action thing.
Yeah, definitely. But so this one taking the whole Hurricane Katrina things, like, well, now the crocodiles are fucking in the water with you, that kind of situation.
Honestly, you could probably just make a deep sea documentary, and that'd be fucking terrifying.
Yeah, enough as it is. Yeah, that shit's terrifying.
Absolutely.
You can't fuck around with the shit at the bottom of the sea.
No, you cannot.
Absolutely. Moving along. So
what's next on the docket?
We got E3.
We got gaming. Yeah.
E3 happened while you were gone. Well, actually, it happened before you were gone, but hey, we're back and we're able to talk about some stuff. All right. So, anything catch your eye?
I didn't watch it.
You didn't watch anything on E3?
Nah.
Okay.
I caught the memes at the end. That's all I'm here for.
Okay, fair enough. So, Cyberpunk got its release date, which is some point next year. Keanu Reeves is in it.
Cool.
So, that's cool. Didn't sound like him. It looked like him. He came out and they had the Keanu. Have you seen these memes with him coming out with the smaller version of himself? So, they got those going. And so, yeah, that's fun. I guess Cyberpunk looks good. I'm interested in what they do with it moving forward. But so there's that. Next up, Project Scarlett. Talked about that as it happened. They announced that the Xbox is coming out with their new thing, which I guess Project Scarlett is their official title.
Interesting departure from the usual nomenclature.
Yeah, I mean, they don't really have one, to be fair.
Well, they had like the Xbox something.
Yeah.
It was the Xbox, then it was the 360, then it was the Xbox One, which kind of doesn't make sense.
Confusing.
But it was it was normalized to a sense where you're expecting Xbox something like the Xbox Scarlett. I think would have made more sense.
Yeah,
or a number.
Yeah. Why do they feel the need to not kind of follow the order with that?
Well, for a while there, you remember those old YouTube videos where it was like, oh, leaks of the Xbox 720. You remember that? I think they should have just ran with that. Just ran and fucking took it.
Yeah,
but whatever.
720, 1080, and then maybe figure out something new because nobody's going to say Xbox. What's the next one?
4K.
Yeah, whatever.
See, we know those because we played the Tony Hawk games. So it goes from 360 to 540 to 720.
Yeah. So there's that. I mean, I guess they could have went to 542 and just kind of kept on. Anyway.
Yeah. So you know what I find hilarious about this whole thing is that like, I don't want to like trash on console, but I think it's hilarious that they're just getting like these kind of like updated bits and pieces. Like we talked about the PS5 leak and how it loaded up Spider-Man in like point whatever seconds as opposed to the PS4 Pro, which took a full 10. Yeah. Because they're using modern fucking technology, solid state drives, because they've become so cheap to a point where it makes sense to put it in a console for, the $500 price point or whatever it is. Yeah. And then, like the modern graphics and like the whole big thing about Project Scarlett was like, what was it, like 120 frames per second at whatever resolution?
Yep.
And like they're like, oh, like never before seen. It's like, well, Microsoft, you make PCs, like you see this shit all the fucking time,
Yeah,
you know.
that's a little silly.
But like I'm not here to trash on it. I just think that like it's good for consoles to finally catch up. But
I agree.
Don't act like this is like brand fucking new. This
Absolutely.
has been around, you know.
First time I've ever seen before. It's like no.
Yeah.
Definitely not. So yeah, that's interesting. And obviously PPS has remained silent. I think it's hilarious that it's going to be if it's an Xbox, it's the Xbox PS for short.
Project Sky. Yeah, that's kind of goofy.
That is a little funny. Anyway, moving along. So Ubisoft's presentation. So Ubisoft is I guess a team that we have relative
respect for.
Yeah, stock respect in. And then they announced a few things, and I'm going to go over a few of these if you don't mind.
Yeah, by all means.
Watch Dogs Legions. Who the fuck asked for another Watch Dogs? Nobody asked for the second one.
Fix the game engine, fix the mechanics, and refine Watch Dogs before you drop another one.
Yeah.
Because it's been, what, like a year, maybe 2?
Yeah, I think 2.
Because Nikki bought the last Watch Dogs. I remember watching him play it.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're going to serialize a game like this, which it isn't too absurd.
Yeah.
But you got to make sure, you got to take the Call of Duty approach, man. You got to polish that thing up. It's got to feel good in the hand. It's got to make sense.
And I played the first Watch Dogs when it came out, and I was like super hyped for it because it was supposed to be amazing, and it was just okay.
Yeah.
It was just okay. So yeah, Watch Dogs 3. Nobody asked for Watch Dogs 2, so I don't know why we're getting a 3. Gods and Monsters, saw a little bit on this. This is kind of like the Greek mythology thing. It looks like kind of Breath of the Wild a little bit aesthetically. So it looks cool. This game is something I'm actually interested in. It's called Roller Champions, which is kind of like a Rocket League kind of roller derby looking thing.
Cool.
That looks like fun. I think if they give it enough depth, that could be a lot of fun to play. I know they have like an alpha out there right now, but I'm not going to touch it until it's a little bit more refined. But it looks cool. And this was something that's interesting because I did not expect this one. Rainbow Six Quarantine. So what do you think this is?
Is it a zombie version with the Rainbow Six like engine?
It is Rainbow Six with Rainbow Six characters, all the ops, and it looked kind of like Outbreak, but apparently it's its own full board thing, and they're gonna actually like create levels for it and be its own standalone.
Hang on. So you get like Thermite, Smoke, all the people we love and care about are in this game.
Yes,
but it's essentially a zombies game.
Yeah,
or an Outbreak kind of ordeal.
Yeah. And it's its own standalone game. It's not a.
So you're telling me I'm gonna have to buy these characters twice now?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess so.
Because if you already have the year pass, you should just double dip and make that the same year pass for both games.
Well, I don't know what's the intention. I don't think not every op is going to translate over to this new thing. It can't.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like you can't. You know, like what is Thatcher going to do to a fucking zombie? He's going to throw an EMP grenade. What are they going to do? Whoa. I mean, like.
Well, I'm sure if you have those exploding, like in Terrorist Hunt, you could have exploding zombies.
Yeah, I mean
those big motherfuckers.
I guess. So yeah, from what I saw in the trailer, we saw Vigil, we saw Ella, and I think Thermite was the one that was on the ground. So
interesting choice.
Yeah, so it's a co-op game, three ops at a time. Go over the story and kind of see how it works.
Cool in execution. I'm glad they realized, because I feel like a lot of people liked Outbreak.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad in its concept. I just feel like the ops we got out of Outbreak, Lion and Finka were grossly broken and whatever. We're not going to dive into Rainbow Six talk, but I think that it was overall a fun experience, and I'm glad that they're recognizing that. My whole big thing is that like this was a free kind of 3-month thing, and now they're probably going to charge a full $60 for it on top of DLC and stuff, and then and then like literally what I just said. What if you have an op on Rainbow Six? What if your favorite op is like a year 4 op or whatever, right? Like let's just say you love Maestro, which you do.
I do.
And then he's an option in this Outbreak thing or this quarantine thing, and now you might have to double dip and buy him again.
Yeah.
And what's the sense in that?
I think they're definitely going to have to tread lightly on that.
I think the best way to do it is, like I said, double dip with the season pass. Like the first thing that game should do is check your Rainbow Six stuff and all the DLC you have for that. And if they're available in quarantine and you have them in 6, you should just unlock them right there.
I'm okay with that.
Because I'd pay the full $60 at that point, but if I'm going to have to double dip with rebuying all these characters, then what's the point?
Yeah, might as well wait at that point.
Granted, I play Thermite on attack, but like all my defense ones, all my favorites are like DLC.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know, man. I guess, like I said, they definitely would have to tread lightly on that. I agree with you on that. But I think they're trying to get like a story mode going with it, so that's interesting. And I guess we'll have to wait and see.
That's good though. I feel like we always ask for more story out of the ops in Rainbow Six.
Yeah, and it's not a part of the this is not a Siege team thing. They have their own separate team for this little project. So I'm glad it's not taken away from Siege, because I think the last thing anybody needs to be doing right now is be taking away any kind of ascension from Siege, because
we're on a good Steam train.
Yeah, absolutely. It's chugging along, and it's good stuff, man. I can't praise them enough on that. I think there was one other thing on the Ubisoft presentation that I wanted to talk about. The Vision 2 is going free to play. Good for them. And that's about it. So, so that was Ubi's presentation. I thought it was all right. Word has finally come out that Santa Monica Studios has officially started the next God of War game. So that's coming out eventually at some point, probably within the next 5-6 years, seeing how long it takes.
Take your time with it.
Yeah, take your time with it.
You deserve it at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing,
Blair Witch.
So
what's up with this? We getting a game?
It's a game.
Slenderman 2.0.
Yeah, where it's getting a game, and I guess they're playing around with the lore a little bit. And if you explore deep enough and make it long enough, you kind of get to be able to kind of unravel some of the secrets of the Blair Witch. It's first person, so obviously you have a flashlight, so kind of like Slenderman. I think that's fair to say, but based in the Blair Witch world, which I'm a fan of. I like the stuff, so I like the most recent Blair Witch that came out. I actually thought it was pretty good.
I think this thing has a lot of potential because horror games I've always kind of been a sucker for. Like Amnesia, Slenderman was fun when it came out and all that stuff. I think that if you employ some of the mechanics that we saw in the first movie, and I know I'm like grossly translating here, right? But like the whole thing was that they got lost in the woods. Anybody who ever gets lost in the woods knows that if you go one direction for long enough, you'll find something, right? And I think what might be interesting is like if you're playing and like your character gets dehydrated or you sprint too fast, like your compass goes haywire, or your character will like turn without like you totally recognizing it, and that'll lead you in circles. Yeah, I think implying some of the shit that made the first movie creepy into like a gameplay mechanic, I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that's something that's interesting. Now, about what you said, because logistically you are 100% correct about the whole width thing, right? But in the most recent The Blair Witch movie, they kind of explained that.
What was the explanation?
That it's magic, basically.
Well, I've heard an explanation. I don't know what the validity of this is, but I've heard that like the Blair Witch takes place in like a weird pocket dimension. Yeah. So, granted, they could have gone one direction, but if it like repeats like that, they would have essentially not gotten anywhere. Yeah. And that's the whole like Curse of the Witch thing. But that's one of many explanations for the movie. Yeah. Fan theories. Like they lose a guy and then they find him with like a full like beard going and everything like that. He's kind of lost it. So like, yeah, like you said, it's kind of. Well, that was weird. Kind of in his own little dimension, like you said. So yeah, man. Have some fun with it. Take some creative liberties, because this is definitely a franchise that you can do that with.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, I think the fans of the series like me would love kind of the little secrets that we get along the way, little nods, Easter eggs, if you will, of the franchise. So that's something that I picked out of. And last but not least, Nintendo. So I think I am not breaking ground when I say I think Nintendo kind of won E3 this year.
They win a lot of E3s, man. I feel like this is the first one you've grossly paid all that attention to them,
Yeah, well, definitely, it's definitely the one that we ran away with, far and away. Yeah, far and away, light years ahead of everybody else. Because obviously they talked about the new Zelda. I think that's going to be
Breath of the Wild 2. Yep. A lot of darker tone. I love it. Yep. The aesthetic is gorgeous on it. I love that like dark tint.
Yeah. They did that. They talked about Luigi's Mansion 3, which
you're gonna get a Switch.
Yeah, I'm a mark for.
I think that's hilarious that this might be the game that sells you.
Yeah, I think this is it. I think the only other game that could do it was like a Metroid. If they'd announced a Metroid, like a Metroid, I'm like,
would you settle for a Metroid collection? No, you'd need a new Metroid.
I would need a new one. Yeah,
I get you.
Metroid's like the only other thing that would like really sell me on. But once I saw it, I'm like, God damn, these motherfuckers! They know what they're doing. Absolutely. And Luigi Mansion looks like a shit ton of fun. So
I was telling you, I hope that the Switch drops down to like around $200 during the holiday seasons, because like you said, they ran away with E3 this year, and if that thing drops down to $200, there's really no reason for you to not get one.
Yeah, definitely. So hopefully it's good stuff, and I definitely want it. God damn it. So I titled the thing Nintendo might have finally done it, and what they might have finally done is gotten me and Gabe to buy his Switch.
What was the last Nintendo console you owned?
Like actually owned?
Yeah.
Well, the Wii wasn't mine. It was my sister's.
But you guys had a Wii.
We had a Wii.
Did you dump enough time on it to say you had a Wii? No.
the last Nintendo I actually owned.
It's what, a 64?
A 64.
Gotcha. I had a DS, and before that I had a Game Boy Advanced. The big thing I'm looking forward to is just getting back into Pokemon, bro. I've been out of the loop for long enough, like 10 years now.
Definitely. They have Sword and Shield now because they're running out of things to mirror each other. X and Y, black and white, all those things. But so yeah, Nintendo did it. Attaboy. Now moving along. So actually, we got. Did you get a chance to listen to this?
Yes, I did. I reviewed it. I got some thoughts on it.
All right, so we got 2 things to talk about here, and on your this is your thing. You're supposed to do music news and reviews.
Oh, for music news and reviews. Sorry, It's been 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's a little rusty, ladies and gentlemen, but it is what it is. So, but we are back with this, and so retro review. I summoned Gabe to do I Set the Kill Broken Frames, and I want your opinion on it.
Sure. I listened to this all the way through, and me and Maddie always joke that you're picky, whether it's what you eat or what you should listen to. You're kind of picky in your nature, right? And if somebody would have played this and told me that you like you enjoy this stuff, I would have probably been like, nah, man, you're full of shit. Maybe a track or two. Here's the best way I can compare this, right? If I Wrestled the Bear Once is the Coca-Cola formula with cocaine in it, this is like Coke Zero. It's within the same realm, same product, really, but there's a lot of differences in how it's constructed and the way it's laid out. I remember you told me you spent the one Warped Tour with the girl from I Set to Kill. Yeah. Okay, so I think that this is delightfully bubbly with a hint of like metalcore and punk. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't necessarily label this album as either of those two things inherently. I would probably put it in like the harder rock category with influences of both.
I agree. Yep.
I think it's a fun album. I think it has its high points where you could totally tell that like, hey, we're doing a metalcore song now. Listen up. Here's some nice growls. Here's some aggressive riffs and stuff like that. And then they bring it back down and they do something like a slower song with like soft rock tones and like almost a different style of production, almost, yeah. Right? I think it was a bit of a roller coaster for me, man. There was a handful of tracks I enjoyed, and there was a handful where I was kind of like
skip.
I didn't skip them because we're doing a retro review, and if I'm listening to it, I'm gonna listen to it all the way, whether I'm dreading it or whether I'm enjoying it. I didn't hate them, but they definitely felt like
filler.
I wouldn't say filler, man. I feel like the girls wanted their moments, and there's nothing wrong with that, but there's just kind of this weird loose cohesiveness to this album, where I felt like kind of the only thing binding everything together was the name, like I Set to Kill. Mm-hmm. You feel me?
Yeah.
It wasn't a bad album overall, but I feel like it was very, let's take a little bit from here, a little bit from there, a little bit from there. It's like when you have 2 different recipes for something, and instead of sticking with one, you decide to find a third and kind of mix them all together. Sometimes it works, but other times, it might not. And I think in this case, it worked to an extent. But when you sit down and listen to it, especially from like an outsider's perspective, like myself, you notice the weird things in between.
Absolutely. So what was your familiarity with this band before?
You've mentioned them, heard a couple singles, never really sat down listening to an album.
Okay. So I will say that when the album came out, I thought it was so fucking good. And looking back, now I think this is one of the first times in retro review that I'm like, man,
I think you just had a crush on her, boy.
Well, I definitely did. That's not a secret, but I still enjoy it. I definitely enjoyed some certain aspects over others, but I'm like, maybe there was some bias going on with there because I had a really positive experience when I met them and talked to them, and I liked them a lot, and live was fucking phenomenal. They were really good back then. But I listened to the album all the way through, and I'm like, okay, like you said, some standout tracks, definitely Broken Frames. The
title track.
The title track comes to mind. Some things in between, the listening, all that good stuff. There's some good songs on there, definitely. I think production-wise, I'd 100% agree with you. There's very disjointed in certain songs. Some songs don't blend well with others.
It feels like maybe 2 or 3 people did the production on this. When I can almost assure you that it was one guy.
Yeah, they definitely needed. I think the album itself could have benefited from having maybe some of the tracks laid out differently. Because it's just like you said, there's like this, especially in the middle where you're like, okay, we get it, right? But what I will say is, from their previous effort, this is a lot better. Because I was always a fan of them, I always liked them to a certain extent. But the last album, you couldn't get like anything outside of like one tone from the clean vocalist, Alexia. You couldn't get nothing out of like anything at all. But to be fair, the album was written for somebody else to be sang, and they kind of quit last minute, so she had to fill in. So I get her credit for that. And this one, you could definitely tell she found her own voice. in the middle of all of it. So I enjoyed the album overall. But like I said, I think kind of the first time I'm like, that we've gone back on an album, I'm like, this doesn't line up to the way I remember it in my head.
To the way it felt when it came out.
Yeah. And like I said, there could be some bias there because I had a super positive experience with them.
I mean, it's not a bad album by any means.
Yeah, it's fine.
I think it's creative enough that it stands out, and it's definitely like, I feel like if you played another track by him, I'd be like, yeah, this is I Set to Kill.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of get to know the personality, but there was some technical production and some kind of in-betwixt stuff that at least that I experienced, that I was like, kind of, this needs some love and some aloe.
Absolutely. There's that. And I will say, I mean, like I said, I was biased, but anything after this is just
no mas.
I'm like, no interest.
That's okay, man. It happens to bands.
Yeah.
Bands grow and
because like they lost kind of like who they were, because they had a hard time keeping a lineup, right? From what I understand, now I don't want to put anybody's business out there, but from what I understand, the lead vocalist, the chick, was extremely difficult to get along with, from what I picked up. And actually, the bass player is her sister, and apparently they don't even talk anymore. She's not in the band anymore. Yeah, they don't talk. I actually did a Instagram live thing because she does her own music. It's kind of like hippy dippy stuff, and I'm like, well, what happened? And she said, well, we just don't talk anymore. Like, we don't.
It's like, who was that? Oasis, where the two brothers don't fucking talk anymore?
Yeah. She's like, we just don't talk anymore. It's like, that's kind of sad. It's horrible, actually.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, that's something that's interesting.
So speaking about bands evolving and growing, so you put this on here. This is kind of old news because this single came out 2, maybe 3 weeks ago. Hundredth came out. Yeah, this has been out. Hundredth came out with a track called Whatever. I have some thoughts and theories about the way we feel about this thing. I want you to talk about it, though, because you're the one that kind of brought it up. You're the one that was kind of frazzled.
So I listened to the song, and they've even strayed away from the sound that they had in the previous album, where that was a little bit more sonically interesting and had some elements that I enjoyed. Obviously, it wasn't Hundredth, but I'm not going to be...
Not what we love Hundredth for. I think that's important to discern here.
Yeah, they definitely had stuff in there that was at least interesting to me to hear. This one, they went further away from that even, and have kind of gotten to something that I'm like, wow, Adriana would like this, and that's not something that I wanted for my 100th. To me, it's just very
That's okay, man. You have that right to feel that way about stuff.
And I was telling Adriana, I think I would be okay, and I think we mentioned this previously, if it was the same guys under a new name.
Yeah, we talked about rebranding and stuff, but at the end of the day, this is their creative project, and they can do whatever the fuck they want with it, right?
Yeah.
We talked about this with bands like Hundredth, like Bring Me the Horizon, things of that nature. It's totally on them, and if that's what they want to do, then by all means they should.
But like, the problem with that is that it's taking equity from a well-established sound and what they did previously, and just flipping it on its head. Maybe they were afraid to release it under a new name because nobody would care if they did it. I think there's something to be said about that, because the 100th name,
it's a two-sided coin.
Definitely,
it
had
really
equity.
is a two-sided coin.
Yeah,
because I would have been pleased if they dropped it under a new name, like Chadwick's solo project was like Purple Velvet or something. If they dropped it under that would have kind of worked. You know? I always say this, man. I love Hundredth, and I still do. I definitely feel 100% that like they are one album away from breaking out of this like weird middle ground with like a melodic hardcore band, because up to that point they've been around for I don't know, like 7, 8, I think 10 years. They said they've been doing like melodic hardcore, right? And they would have broken out of this weird middle ground where people are like, yeah, Hundredth, into where people are like, holy shit, like Hundredth is the shit, and they would have been headlining shows, and they would have been the ones looking for like new and up and coming talent. Whereas before they were supporting bands like Every Time I Die, The Devil Wears Prada, Architects, stuff like that, right? And I truly feel that they were one really good album away from breaking away from that, hey, we're opening up for a big band, to, hey, we're doing a fucking headliner. You come out, you see us now, we're bringing new talent, right? Yeah. Here's the thing, and I feel like I got to reiterate this every time Bring Me the Horizon drops a new album. If you're cool with it and you can sleep at night as the artist, do it. Because, we may not love it, we may not hate it, whatever, however we feel about it, that doesn't matter. Because if you're cranking out shit for money, people are going to know. And you're going to know yourself, and you got to kind of live with your own demons at that point.
Yep.
Now let's get into what I think about this. Here's my theory. And I first noticed this cycle in the Halo community, right? And just hear me out. Here's how it works in the Halo community. a new game comes out, a new line in the Halo game comes out, and people hate it, right? And then they're like, oh my God, this is so bad. Why can't we go back to the last one? And this is how it was with Halo Reach, where people are like, dude, what the fuck is Halo Reach? What are all these new mechanics? This is garbage. This feels like Call of Duty. This is taken away from the Halo name, blah, blah, blah. Why can't we go back to the Halo 3 style of things, right? And then you got Halo 4 come out. And then people are like, well, maybe Reach wasn't that bad. And then Halo 5 came out. So now we're let's just say albums instead of games, right? Now we're 2 albums ahead. And people are like, dude, why can't we just go back to Reach? Reach had the best multiplayer in the series, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And this and that. And Reach was so much fun, dude. They did a lot of cool implementing and this and that, right? And then the next game gets bumped down into that new slot where like, dude, this game had this, and it's this cycle. And I think you're on this kind of weird cycle because when... That's the Spirit came out by bringing with Horizon. You're like, dude, I can't fucking do this. Like, Sempiternal was like, awesome, blah, 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 this and that. And then Ammo came out. And you're like, there's a couple of tracks I liked off of That's the Spirit, blah, blah, blah. If they stuck with that, I think I would have still been on board, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that's not what you fucking said on the album review 3 years ago or whatever. Right? And I think you're on this with Hundredth because I didn't like Rare. I did not like Rare. I'm just going to throw it out there. And I'm going to get into my own cycle in a second here.
Okay.
But you didn't fucking like it. I didn't like it. But now that they're coming out with new stuff, you're like, well, Rare did this and that I enjoyed. And, blah, blah, blah. So I think you're on that cycle. Now let me explain mine. Here's my cycle. I get so invested in a fucking band.
Yeah, then they start to suck.
and then they crank out something totally weird and oddball and just almost like a full 180 from why I love them. And then I get really upset and disappointed and I fucking hate everyone and I sleep in my closet because I can't deal with life anymore, right? And here's my example. Hundredth being Rare, I did not like that album. And then Trophy Eyes, when they went from your traditional hardcore sound into the thing they called Chemical Miracle, right? That weird album that I did not enjoy whatsoever. And then when that artist comes out with something newer, that's when I start to make my amends. Because I did a Trophy Eyes album review of Friday Forever, or whatever that last album was last year, and I really enjoyed it. American Dream. And that album was phenomenal. I quite enjoyed that. That was a good listen. And now when this 100th single dropped, I was like, this is pretty good. And I like it because, one, it doesn't hide Chad's voice. I think he has a nice singing voice. Behind all these, like, effects and this and that. And I didn't particularly give a shit about any of the instrumentals on Rare. I thought it was whatever. I, in fact, liked the Rare remixes better than I liked Rare itself.
I was going to get into that.
I like this style of Hundredth. I like this kind of beach wave aesthetic. And it's okay to hate it. It really is, because this is the same band that came out with one of my favorite hardcore, metalcore, whatever you want to call it, albums of all time, Let Go. And I totally understand if you don't like it, but I think what they're doing now, I think this is a lot more creative, and I think they're taking better care of this, whatever, at least, as opposed to Rare, in my opinion.
It's funny that you say that, because you're like, oh, beach. I totally get shopping at Forever 21 from this. That's what I get, the mental picture of me sitting at Forever 21 waiting for Adrian to pick something out.
Really, dude? I think that's like good skate music or like good beach weather music, man.
Yeesh. Ugh, no, thank you.
But yeah, wait till the next 100th album. You're gonna like, you know what, man? This wasn't.
I'm not even gonna listen to it.
I'm gonna listen to it. I'm gonna give it an honest review.
Yep. They lost me at yeah.
How'd you enjoy the Rare remixes?
I haven't listened to them yet. I'm gonna try to get into them.
I dig them. I dig them more than the album.
What's the difference? What's the main difference here?
It's it takes the tracks and it does what a DJ would. They like reproduce, remix, and like reorganize the tracks, add some new things, take away some old things, things like that. I think if you're even remotely interested in like the electronic genre, if you have a passing interest in like Daft Punk and things of that nature, I think you'll get a good kick out of this.
Interesting.
I like that loads better than the album itself. And that's just my opinion on it. And, you know, I've been kind of in the electronic genre for like ever now, but that's just me.
True.
So, I mean, do what you want, I guess, right? But
absolutely,
it's their thing at the end.
Yep. All right, Gabe. So do you have a retro review for us next week?
Yeah, I do. So okay. I'm actually going to ask you how familiar you are with this band, because I brought them up probably more than a dozen times on this podcast. I don't know if you actually know what I'm fucking talking about, though. Do you know who Highly Suspect is?
This is the band with the mask, right?
With the what?
No, that's another band. No, I don't know them then.
You don't know them then?
No.
You've never heard anything by them?
No.
All right. So I found them before they were anything, before they were hot shit, because that's what they are now, right? They're like a commodity that everybody can't get enough of. Their first real studio album came out 4 years ago. It'll be 4 in 2 weeks. So it's not that old. It's not that retro, but I want to do a retro review on this because I think this is right in your vein of rock and roll.
Highly suspect.
Highly suspect. The album was called Mr. Asylum.
Mr. Asylum.
It's 10 tracks. I think you could suffer through it.
That's reassuring.
I think you'll get a good kick out of it.
Highly suspect. Okay, hold on. I'm doing it now, so I don't
doing it
forget,
now.
because I will totally forget. Mr. Asylum Rock. Okay.
You know, we cover a lot of I don't want to say a lot of genres. We cover a lot of fucking metalcore on this podcast, and we go into depth on a lot of albums we like. So let's just take a small little detour, a small little circle around, you know, and let's just do something rock and rolly.
Sure, absolutely. So with that, you got anything else to add, Gabe?
No, man, I think it's been a good week. I think we have a solid chunk of time on here. I think I'm just filling in the gaps right now. I'm watching the time bar go up.
Yeah.
Really quick, I want to give a quick shout out to MK11. Yeah, I know you're like, oh my god, MK talk at the music from Gabe. It's been the best selling game on all platforms of 2019 so far.
Really?
Shout out to Ed Boon, shout out to NetherRealm Studio, shout out to even Warner Bros. Because it's one thing to sell Mortal Kombat, but it's a completely different thing to have Mortal Kombat be the best selling game on all platforms in 2019 so far, and that is truly an achievement.
That probably hasn't happened since like the 90s, probably.
Probably since like MK3, man, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Because there's that weird period in between where nobody gave a crap.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, okay, well, attaboy Boone.
Good stuff.
Hitting
Guess what I just picked up today?
What'd you pick up today?
Black Ops 3. It was like $10.
Yeah, you're a couple of games behind there, Gabe.
Yeah, I know. You know how I feel about Call of Duty, but we're getting back into zombies, so this should be fun.
Do they have good zombies? I don't even remember.
Well, they have the whole Zombie Chronicle DLC thing where it's like the best voted fan maps.
Yeah. All right, so with that, that's the deal, and we'll be back next week for episode 123.
Wow, I get to say 1, 2, 3 next week.
Yeah,
Sweet.
you do. So yeah, we got that going. Other than that, man, I think that's the pod.
Yeah, that's the podcast.
Until next time, deuces. Thank you guys for joining us this week on the Second City Kids podcast. You can like us on iTunes, Google, anywhere else podcasts are found. Any comments, questions, or concern, you can email us at secondcitykids@gmail.com. Until next week, folks, deuces.